Hey guys, this is going to be the 2.7 homework, average rate of change. Important thing about this homework assignment is that you know how to find the average rate of change from tables, from graphs, from equations, and using real world, it's hard to call them real life problems. Let's just say problems that have context with them. How about that? So in any case, let's do, this shouldn't be too bad, so we'll just go through these. For one, so these are not coordinates. These are intervals. So intervals meaning these are x values. So from -1 to 3 is what that means. So we're saying the average rate of change from -1 to 3. So using these values right here is what we're going to use for the average rate of change. And average rate of change is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. In other words, this is slope. And that's what average rate of change is. It is the slope over an interval. It's a rate of change. And slope is a rate of change. And so here's the y column, here's the x column. I usually assign y2 to be the ladder, so the interval, the end of the interval. So this is the interval from -1 to 3. So this is the end of the interval. So I like to use the values at the end of the interval to start. It does matter in which way you start it in the case that you have to be consistent. So I'm going to say -27 minus -11. This is the y column, so y2 minus y1. And so that's -27 minus -11, y2 minus y1 over. Now because I used this value right here, this y value to start the interval, I have to use this x interval to start the interval. So that's going to be 3 minus -1. Let's do the math right here. So that's -27 plus 11 over 3 plus 1. And so what is that going to be right there? So if I did -27 minus 10, that's going to be 17 minus 1, 16. So is that -16 over +4? So that's going to be -4 is as my average rate of change. So basically what we're saying is that we have these coordinate points right here. The slope between these 2 points is -4. Okay, and then we have part B. That's just giving us a different interval. So this is from -2 to 0. So that's this interval right here. And so if I'm using this interval, then y2, and that's y1. So -6 minus -22 over 0 minus -2. So that's going to be equal to -6 plus 22 over +2. So 22 minus 6, that's going to be minus 4, is that going to be also 16? That's going to be +16, right? Because then you minus 2, 20 minus 4. Yeah, over 2. So this is going to be an average rate of change of 8. Okay. You'll do the same thing in this case right here. So the first interval is -4 to 4. So 16 minus 16 over 4 minus -4. And then for the next one, that's going to be from -2 to 4. So 16 minus 4 over 4 minus -2. And then you'll find it out. Okay, let's do one with a graph. So we have a graph given here. So given the following graphs, find the average rate of change over the given intervals. So these are not coordinate points. So the first interval is from -1 to 2, -1 to 2. So I'm going to plot points here. So -1 to 2, those are the points on the graph right there. That would give us that line right there. So what is the average rate of change over that line? Now, I don't have to use the formula here. I can see that the slope is 1. So the average rate of change here is going to be 1, because that's the slope. Next, we're going to have the interval from -2, so -2 to 1. So right here, that's going to be between those 2 points, and that's going to have a slope of -1. So there you go. We'll go ahead and do C, and we'll do C, yeah. So this is the interval from 0 to 1. So from 0, x equals 0 to x equals 1. So average rate change between those 2 points, that just has a slope of 1. So that's pretty straightforward, pretty easy for those ones. You can do the same thing for 4. So 4, just the interval from -3 to 0. So x equals -3, so that would be right here. So put a point here, and then 0 would be here, so that point. And then if you find the slope between those 2 points right there, that's going to be the average rate of change. Okay, so go ahead and do 4. All right, we have 5, 6, 7, and 8. So given the following functions, find the average rate of change. And so we have the interval, we have a function this time. Notice that we're just doing the same thing, but we're given different information. This one we're going to use the formula again though, so we're going to do y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Remember that these are the x values, so x2 is 5, x1 is going to be 1. Now y2, I'm going to find y2 by plugging in 5. So y2 is going to be equal to f of 5, and that's going to be equal to 5 squared plus 4. 5 squared is 25 plus 4, so that's going to be equal to 29. y1 is going to be equal to f of 1. So y2 is f of 5, y1 is f of 1. So I'm plugging 1 into the function. That's going to be 1 squared plus 4. That's just going to be 5. So I have my y2 and my y1. So I'm going to do 29 minus 5 over 5 minus 1. So 29 minus 5 for y2 minus y1. And then x2 minus x1, 5 minus 1. 29 minus 5 is 24 over 4. So that's going to give me 6. Okay, I'll help you out with 6 right here, and we're doing the same interval 1 to 5. So let's find y2. y2 is going to be equal to f of 5. So I want to help you out with the negative part here. So that's going to be negative open parenthesis, close parenthesis, 5 squared plus 4, which is a big difference, okay? Because here, you square the 5 first, then multiply by a negative, and that's negative 25 plus 4. And then, so negative 25 plus 4, that's going to be negative 21. And then y sub 1 is going to be equal to f of 1. So again, I'm just plugging in the values of my interval. So first I did 5, now I'm doing 1. And that's going to be equal to negative 1 squared plus 4. So that's going to be negative 1 plus 4. And that's going to be equal to 3. So y2 minus y1, that's going to be negative 21 minus 3 over 5 minus 1. So that's going to be equal to negative 24 over 4. That's going to give me negative 6 as my average rate of change. Okay. I'll help you out with the first part of this one right here as far as the math goes. So we're going to do f of 6 for y sub 2. So y2 is going to be equal to f of 6. And that's going to be equal to 1/2 6 squared plus 4. So here you're going to have to square that. So that's 1/2. That's going to be 36 plus 4. and then this is half of 36. Okay, so that's going to be 18 plus 4. So 18 plus 4, that's going to be equal to 22. Okay, so that's y2. Now to find y1, you'll plug in -2 right here. And the negative is going to be included when you square it. So when you square it, it's going to be positive 4. Okay, and I'll let you guys finish out the rest of those. For 9, 10, 11, they're just story problems. So for 9, in 1998, Linda purchased a house for $144,000. That's in 2009. The house is worth $245,000. Find the average annual rate of change in dollars per year in the value of the house. And so you're using the same type of equation. You're using y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Except you have to fit these into the context of the problem. Now, time is always going to be, if you have time, that is most likely going to be the x values. So 2009 was the end of the interval. So 2009 and 1998 would be the last of the interval. So, yeah. And so in that case right there, that's going to be your x2 and that's going to be your x1. And then y2 and y1 is going to be the price of the housing, but that has to also be done in the correct order of the years, if that makes sense. Yeah. So this is how I would write it. So let's do the end of the interval. So the end of the interval, the price of the house was $245,000, and we're going to subtract $144,000, and then we're going to divide that by 2009 minus 1998. That's just going to give us the number of years. So 245 minus 144, that's 101,000 over 11 years. And so again, what we're just saying is that that's the increase. This right here is how much the value of the house increased from here to here over that much time. So how many per year did that happen, if that makes sense? So just divide that by 11. So I got each year the price went up 9,181.82 about dollars. There you go. And you'll do the same for these problems right here. So 7 p.m. The temperature was 72 degrees. And then 3 hours later at 10 p.m. it was 52. So I should expect a negative answer here. So we went from, this is the end of the interval, so 52 to from 72 to 52. So that's a decrease in temperature. So if you do 52 minus 72, that would tell you how many degrees you decrease, and you just have to do 3 hours. So 52 minus 72 and divide that by 3, and you'll get your answer. And then do something similar here and get your average rate of change. Yeah. It looks like we're going to do from January to April, so time is going to be 4 months. Or wait, would you just count that as 3 months? So January, February, March, April. 3 months. 3 months, yeah. And then that's how much money was in the savings account in April. This is how much it was in January. Okay. All right, so hopefully that helps you out for this homework assignment.